Welcome to another episode of Mindset with Molly. We're excited to have you here, and today we're going to talk about why real estate is a long-term game and how to stay patient.
But first, how was your week? We were just trying to stop talking about it a second ago, but since you have younger kids, remind me of how old they are again.
So I have 16, 8, 6, and 3.
Okay. They are in all the sports right now, right? So
Soccer's in full swing, and Amelia's doing gymnastics. So we're staying really busy. The weekends are all about soccer right now, Central Arkansas and in Fort Smith. So we've had a busy weekend, and the weather was not the best.
What do you mean? What?
It was raining quite a bit. Yeah, that's spring season for you. But
rain?
We were in Little Rock area.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
We have to bring all the things to keep all the other kids dry and entertained.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
And the wind as well has been absolutely crazy.
Yes.
It's been like, I think Saturday. No, maybe it was Friday. The wind had gotten up to 60 miles per hour gust. And then normally for the last 2 weeks, it's been like 30 mile per hour gusts.
Yeah. I don't know really what is, I mean, obviously not a meteorologist here or someone who tracks storms, but it's been wild.
Yeah. So normally you'll see like 13 mile per hour winds. Like that's like a little bit of a windy day. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit too windy to go play disc golf.
Yes.
But like 60 is nuts. Like that's blowing. So for instance, I have, you know, the disc golf thing I have out here, right?
Yeah.
It's all metal and chains, and it blew it over during the middle of the day. That's how crazy the wind was. It blew my chair, my garbage can all the way across the parking lot.
Well, I told you we're building right now, and the porta potty was blown over, and then our neighbor's section of their fence that is obviously well established and into the ground was blown over as well. So it's been pretty rough around here.
It's been crazy. First world problems, but you know. Okay, so other than that, though, that's your weekend.
Just busy with soccer.
Week. Okay, and you're getting ready to become a broker, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the go-ahead to schedule my exam. Patiently waiting as we're talking about patience. Yeah.
Exam?
Yeah. So I took all of my classes that are required, and then you have to submit. Remember, we talked about submitting your application to the Real Estate Commission, and then they have to review everything and give you the go-ahead to schedule your exam. So, and they have to process everybody. So they're busy, and I think a little bit short-staffed too. So that doesn't really help the situation. I was really hoping to get it done this month before spring break, but that's just right around the corner.
Yes. Also, speaking of things that are right around the corner, Molly has a story coming up about...
I do.
Molly, can you please tell us a little bit about, I'm getting it here, a personal story or a deal that took forever to close but paid off in the end?
I do. So I can think of one in particular. It's while I was still in Ohio, and it's still so vividly fresh in my mind.
Made you a millionaire, right?
Well, actually, it was a luxury listing, and it was a beautiful home.
Yes.
And it was just one of those situations where I was the listing agent, and the sellers were very, very sweet people, and they were easy as far as for me to deal with, but their expectations were one thing and reality was another. And that's unfortunate whenever you try to prep your clients ahead of time. And sometimes you can do all the prepping that you possibly can. And at the end of the day, it's their home. So they want a certain amount at the end. And then you obviously always want your inspections to go seamlessly and smoothly and not have any hiccups. And that just wasn't the case.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. The home was on the water. Again, stunning home. And there were just a lot of hoops we had to jump through that took a little longer. And then the negotiation part of once you get a house under contract, as far as the buyer side, and then you go through your inspection period, that's another step in the process where they, as buyers, can negotiate what things they want to have fixed, repaired, or they can ask for a monetary amount. So that process just took a little bit. And at the end, we ended up perfectly fine and ended up being a situation where we sold a lot of personal property in that home too. And I like to sell real estate. I don't like to sell furniture and things like that, but I did what I had to do.
Yeah. How long did that process take, and how long normally should a listing like that take?
Well, that listing in that area for that price range, days on market are a little bit longer, even given that time period. So that's been a few years ago, so I can't tell you everything right on the mark. But I'll say, I want to say it extended the whole situation at least a month and a half.
Okay.
More. And I should add into that, it was after we had relocated from Ohio to Arkansas, and I was needing to go back and forth. Yes.
So you really had to practice some patience.
Yes. Yeah. So still doing real estate in both locations.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's actually talk about and dive into the myth, right? Because that's kind of where we're dancing around. How often do you find, being in the industry for as long as you have, having real estate friends or even colleagues, agents, that people jump in and they just think, overnight success when it comes to selling homes? They just think they have the personality, the persona that's just going to come in day one and get all the deals. Can you speak on that a little bit? Have you seen that? And if so, is that true? Is it false?
It's one of those situations that it can definitely be true. Someone can decide they want to switch careers, they want to start in real estate, and given the amount of people that they know in the area, or probably too, you have to factor in what was their job previously. Were they able to make a lot of contacts with other people in the community? So someone could definitely have overnight success in real estate, but I think the majority, it takes a little bit because you're learning a new career. It, as we've discussed on other episodes, you say forward facing, in the community and on social media. So sometimes it takes people a little bit to get a hang of those things. So patience there is definitely something you have to have, especially in the long run, which I think eventually pays off. Some people's expectations are one thing, and again, reality is another. So I guess you could have it both ways. It kind of just depends on what your personality is and what your contacts look like.
Thinking like an agent, what do you consider to be a payoff, though? I mean, because that's, a lot of people think monetarily. Automatically, that's where my mind goes automatically. Okay. But where I think there's a lot of different other scenarios that could be even better than just the money. So can you explain what you think about payoff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'm glad you asked for clarification on that, because everybody wants to get paid, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about right now. I'm more so talking about, for example, if you go to church or you're involved in your kids' school, or again, like I said, you had a previous career, reaching back out to those contacts from your previous career and also developing new contacts at schools, at church, and letting them know of your change in career so they're well aware and can pass the word on as well. So for me, when I'm talking about success, I'm about getting the word out on your new career so you can be successful in real estate. Because at the end of the day, a lot of it has to do with being able to explain to people how you can help them through this process. It's a huge, huge deal to buy a home. Sometimes it's the largest purchase you make.
Yes.
In your lifetime. So
yes, a lot of what you're talking about, as far as if you're going to be that overnight success, seems like it's centered around community.
Yes.
Which is interesting because I think really this applies to any career field where we're talking about. You can really have overnight success in any career field if you're well connected and you come in knowing people and having an established community. A good example, which coming over into my world, but I think this is everybody's world right now. We're seeing like all these A-list actors now who have only been known, famously for being on a big screen.
Right.
Well, they go over to YouTube, right? They're going over to YouTube and they're creating YouTube channels and they're literally breaking records as far as how many subscribers you can get in a day on YouTube as these actors. Well, that's an overnight success, but it really isn't an overnight success because they put in so much work beforehand that it's just translated over well. So in that same scenario, I bet you there are a lot of different agents who maybe worked in a different career field. Maybe they were a marketer of like the Chamber of Commerce or something like that. If they became an agent, I imagine that their connections alone will put them at a better position to sell than maybe other agents who literally just started from scratch.
Right. And I will have to say this too, because both you and I know we're not from Fort Smith area. Yes. So just because you're not from an area you live in doesn't mean you cannot be successful. I've lived in areas, other states, as we've discussed, other towns that I didn't grow up in, but establishing those connections and being genuine too. Don't you think?
Yeah,
I think that's helped you a lot too in the area.
Yeah, and that's one of the topics actually. It's like building long-term, playing a long-term game builds trust. Why do you think that is? Like if you're playing a long-term game, how does that actually pay off when you're in a scenario where you're practicing patience with a client and it's not going like you wanted to? What does it look like to play the long game with them instead of, I don't know, even get frustrated and just say, hey, can we hurry this up and close this deal?
Whoa. That's not me, number one. I have 4 kids. I do get frustrated with them from time to time, but I don't get frustrated with clients because, again, this is a huge purchase and their timeline may look different than another client's timeline. And as far as playing the long-term game, I don't want to make anything ever sound like I'm disingenuous because I want to establish relationships because I want to know you. It's not just because I want your business. But if you want to use me, then I'll happily help in any sort of capacity that I can. So for me, it's not really playing the game. It's getting to know people because as humans, we don't trust someone right off the bat. Do you? Wow.
Yes, but I think it's okay. You've heard of the scenario, glass half empty, glass half full type person. And I just think I'm more of a glass half full type person. So I always will give someone the benefit of the doubt twice.
Yeah.
So I'll always just think someone's, and assume positive intent. So I trust first.
Well, I'd love for you to rub off on me a little bit. maybe because I have some years on me compared to you.
Hey, I didn't say it. You said
it. I did. Yeah. But I think that's great that you view things that way. And I think maybe when I was younger, I did too. So I just realized that for other people, they may need to get to know me a little bit more before they decide to trust me.
What are some of those tips that what are some of the ways people get to know you? I think that's important.
Right.
Diving into that a little bit because you do a lot or you aspire to do a lot with the community to connect, to get to become known well in the community, not only for money. Like we just talked about, like that's not what it looks like to achieve those goals, which goals we'll get back to in a second. But yeah, what are some of those ways that you do that you can give tips to other agents to connect with people in the community? Yeah,
definitely. So I think that for people to get to know me, especially when I've relocated to an area, we've talked about putting myself out there, being forward facing on social media. So I think maybe that's the first step for some people that I don't necessarily have personal contact with. They can see what I'm involved in. They can see that, hey, maybe our kids do the same thing, or maybe our kids go to the same school, or maybe I saw them at the grocery store. You never know. Just being able to approach someone, and we've talked about being approachable and being a resource for different things. So I think the first step is for someone to want that connection, whether it be we're at the soccer field, like we were just talking about.
Yes.
Or I'm grocery shopping, which I try to do that online a lot because I just don't really like going to the grocery store.
Okay, are you an Aldi girl or Walmart or Sam's?
Well, I'm kind of an all over.
Yeah? Look for the best deal?
Well, no, not necessarily. It just kind of depends on what time of year it is and what exactly I'm looking for. There's some local places around here, too, that I like to go to. And I like to go to the farmer's market and things like that.
Okay,
so, You can't really pinpoint me at one location, but if I need bulk, then of course I'm going to go to Sam's. I do prefer Costco because we had that when we were in Ohio and more centrally located in Arkansas as well. I do like Sam's. I'm just saying some of the products that I want are not there because they're just not carried.
Yeah, for sure. And that almost was a rabbit trail, but then you said something to help me bring it back in.
I know.
Farmers markets. So talking about events, that's another great way to connect. A lot of people sometimes don't go to events because they feel like it's not applicable for them.
Right.
But you try to go to those events. Not only you, to my understanding, you even try to go with your family. So, for instance, we were just talking about, this weekend, you were talking about the Bakery District had a festival, and you were saying that you would have been there with your family. Is that another type of event to where, you're spending time with your family, but you're also just kind of keeping an eye out to connect on a personal level if you see anyone you noticed, or, I don't know, someone may be interested in buying a home?
They may be. It is spring market.
Yeah.
Between March and October is the busiest time for real estate. So I like to go to those events because I want to attend them, and I want my family to have that experience as well. It's not necessarily just because I'm thinking of everything around town to be networking.
Yes.
Now that doesn't mean I won't do that when I'm there with my family, but I'm there to enjoy it just like they are. And if someone wants to discuss the home buying process or get my contact information and discuss it at a later time because they want to enjoy that event with their family as well, then I will definitely use any opportunity that someone wants. But I'm not saying I'm always out seeking that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, I think we can smell when that type of person is around.
Right.
And no one really likes it, that real estate agent who's just around just to figure out who their next client is.
Yeah.
Or really even business person. And those types of people typically aren't leaning more on a relational side, which is unfortunate. So let's actually talk about goals.
Well, let me say this, because you just said relational side. So I guess all in all, what I'm saying is I'm trying to build relationships more so than I'm trying to get my next sale.
Yeah. And you talked about that too before in future podcasts. You said hey, I want friends. I want my kids to have friends.
Yes.
And so if they're doing the same things together, then great. You said that your ideal scenario would be, if you're checking in on a client you sold a home 2 years ago, or they check in and say, hey, do you know a plumber? You're like, yeah, I know a plumber. Here's somebody for you. Also, do you want to get lunch and just catch up, see how you're doing? And so I'm recalling back those situations to just validate what you're saying now. So you're not a sneezy sales agent.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about goals. How do you see goals playing into this for agents to kind of set themselves up for success? Right here, we have a couple of notes talking about setting realistic monthly and quarterly goals. How do you look at goals for whenever you're defining, a successful quarter or an annual review of what you've done in the market that year? So
for me, I think I have daily goals where I want to be able to check the MLS, see the market trends, and I have access in a few different MLSs within the state. So each area is a little bit different. So just making sure top of mind on each area that I serve in Arkansas and knowing new listings, expired listings, what it looks like as far as a price per square foot or how quickly homes are selling. Days on market is what we call them. So making sure I look at that on a daily basis, trying to at least contact a few people each day, making sure my presence on social media. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse when I say that.
Yeah, I know.
That just those are some things I do on a daily basis. As far as from a monetary standpoint, this is kind of difficult for me to say. Again, I feel like real estate is a way that I'm building relationships with people, and I really enjoy this. And I enjoyed this prior to when I worked in the healthcare field and prior to that. And for me, I don't necessarily have a goal in mind as far as what I just have to make. And I'm fortunate when I say that because my husband works, and this is something that I do because I truly like it. It's a passion for me. And like anybody working on a daily basis, of course, I want to bring in a paycheck, but I don't have to have those monetary goals where I have to meet a certain amount each month or a certain amount each quarter. Not to say I don't want to have those, but where other people have to have those, that's somewhere I don't have to really look at.
Yeah, you stress about. Yeah. One thing I did want to ask, because you said that, I think whenever you're building these relationships, money in any relationship can make cause a relationship to have some type of tension or even just be a little bit weird. So with you saying that you don't have these monetary goals that you're building to, every month or every year, it allows us to see you as a person and say, okay, like, if she's asking to be my friend, I truly believe that because she doesn't need to make $1 off of me. So that must mean she just wants to be my friend. How does it make it difficult though for relationships? If you're building relationships with people in the community, how does the whole money side of, okay, this person, like, have you ever had a situation where someone is maybe hesitant about being your friend just because they think you're just trying to sell to them and that's your purpose for that friendship? You don't have to go into details, but I'm just asking, has that made it difficult for you ever, really?
Well, I don't really ever come off with a sales pitch whenever I'm trying to develop friendships. So I can't really say that I've noticed it if it is there, that someone has decided that they don't want to pursue a friendship with me because they feel like I'm just after $1.
Yeah.
So I guess because of how I approach situations, that maybe I've not really felt that. Now, that's not to say someone didn't think that,
yes.
But I'm just saying for me, I didn't feel that way when I was trying to develop a friendship with someone or ask them to grab lunch or coffee or whatnot. But again, I don't want to come off like I don't have to bring home a paycheck. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But what I am saying is I do this because I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy helping people find their homes. I work really hard at what I do. I'm just saying some other people's goals may not be my goals because they need to have the monetary sense at the forefront. And for me, it's about developing relationships and really helping people find a home or a second home or even I still work Hot Springs. If someone has a primary home here and they want a lake home in Hot Springs, I can help them do that we have summer coming up. So, or I can help them develop passive income and use that as an Airbnb and VRBO. I really enjoy what I do. And I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm just twiddling my thumbs and not trying to really work something or a deal, because I will work hard or even harder as some other people that I know of for sure.
Diving into that a little bit deeper, though, what about that specifically do you find fulfillment in if it's not the money side of it? Because a lot of people do just find they get inspired and motivated by the fact of seeing a number raised in their bank account. But you're saying you get the fulfillment from, oh, I helped this person live a better life in a home that they wanted or desired, or they're able to achieve this lifestyle and I helped them get there with their home buying decision. What about that gives you fulfillment?
I think seeing other people happy brings me fulfillment. I was 23 when I purchased my first home, which we talked about on another episode. And I just remember how excited and how accomplished that made me feel at that time. And for some people, their parents may not have been able to buy a home. And they may have been in rentals all of their life. So whatever that looks like for someone for their first home buying experience, or for someone who's buying their 10th home, or someone I'm helping purchase land to build their final home that they're having customized, every experience is different. And I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Switching gears a little bit and going back, what do you do in those moments where you do have to practice patience, or you already have the patience and you're being patient with a client who's maybe the deal's taking a little bit longer than expected? What do you do during that time? Because obviously you're not just sitting around twirling your thumbs. What are some things that you can work on, maybe that you advise other agents to do that you found to be helpful for you during that time? Well,
again, it depends on what situation we're talking about, for sure. If we go back to the one I was referring to earlier in this episode, I think for me during that time period was just making sure I had these conversations ahead of time prior to putting the home on prior to listing their home, to let them know that this may take a little longer in this price range in this area, and making sure they're well informed. So continuing to do that through the process as well, and being that resource for them when it came to inspections and how to navigate that process. Because again, I was on the list side, not the buying side. So working them through I say working them through, working with them through that process. It does take patience because some things are out of your hands and you're just helping them navigate that process. But if you're talking about, I'm working with a buyer that I've been working with for 6 months, and we've still not found the property that they're looking for. For me, a buyer may step into a home and it may be the one they know right off the bat, or it may be the 30th home I've shown them. And for me, that's not for me to say. All I can do is search what they want with the criteria that they're giving me, budget, rooms, location, etc., and be able to help them find those locations, find those homes, and let them decide in the long run. So I don't care if it's the first home I've shown you or the 30th home I've shown you. You'll know.
Is that a reality that you would show, what's the reality of how many homes you would show on an upward end for a client? Not that, you're judging these people.
How about I not talk about them and I just talk about us when we relocated to here, okay? So when we came from North Carolina to here, we looked at 10 plus homes and we didn't decide on any of them. And that's our personal journey. So some people may look at 5, some may look at 10. It really just depends too. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, last question here before we jump into a fun interactive game. How do you avoid burnout and comparison traps? And really this is coming from an aspect of, let's say you have that agent in the same brokerage as you and they're just closing deals left and right. There's no waiting at all. Every house that their clients walk into, it is the house for them, the first one. However, you have maybe 3 or 4 clients who are just kind of, taking their time. Maybe they've solved 5 houses, each of them. What do you do how do you avoid comparing yourself to them? And then what are you doing to also avoid burnout?
That's a good question. So for me, I feel like I'm everybody's cheerleader. So I don't really look at it as, I've put posts up about this. I'm in my own lane. I'm not trying to get in anybody else's lane, and I don't want to compare myself to them. And I think that's something that I learned early on. So I don't really worry because I don't feel like they're my competition, because I'm going to cheer for them just as hard as they would cheer for me, you know? So, and again, their clients are different than my clients. So if they're having clients that are walking into a house first time and they know that that's the one, that's wonderful. But I guess for me, again, with patience that you have to have, I don't care, again, if it's the 1st, 5th, 10th, or 30th. When that time comes, they'll cheer for me just as hard. So I don't really look at it as I'm getting burned out or that someone is my competition because they're closing a house every week, of the month. That's great for them and their family. And I want them to know that that's how I feel for them. And I hope that everyone feels the same way. So for me, it's kind of hard because I don't want to compare myself to anybody else. I am my own person and I'm in my own lane.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're like that because people really struggle to be like that. Especially, and I'm not trying to say anything about, I'm not trying to put any type of scenarios or what do you call it, whenever you have preconceived assumptions of somebody because of.
Yeah. We're not saying that at all. We're just talking about my journey and things that.
Yeah, well, I was saying that to say that I'm sure that this does become an issue in brokerages with, like, for instance, there's 40 plus women within HG. And so I feel like you really do have to, not everyone thinks that way. And so because they don't think that way, you have to guard your heart. You have to guard your mindset to not, put up with that or be that person to even give that stuff attention because it is presented for you to give attention to, but you decide not to.
Yeah. And I think, again, I've been in this for a few years and I've been in other brokerages and I've definitely witnessed some of the things that you're asking me if I have personally felt that I could really relate to. And I think thinking back, not even from a real estate perspective, just being a woman and then what I'm going to refer to a young girl is relationships with other women can be difficult, even growing up as young girls and teenagers. And I learned from early on to have different friend groups at different places, whether that be church or other school districts or whatnot. So I think that I kind of stepped outside of that box a little bit, even from a younger age. And I think, again, I'm going to be showing my age right now, but just given time, I think you just realize that this is not a rat race. And just being able to focus on myself and the people that I'm able to help and everything kind of helps with that perspective for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Hey, let's jump into a couple of questions for a game.
What do we
quick.
have?
Yes. Okay. So this is called Hurry Up and Wait. So I'll give you scenarios and then I'll give you a couple of different options to choose from. Okay. You ready?
I don't know.
Okay, so question number 1. You got an offer on a listing, but it's way below asking. The sellers are emotional and ready to accept just to move on. Okay, so do you, A, push to accept it faster, B, advise the seller to wait for more showings, or C, call your broker for advice on the counter strategy?
There's only A, B, and C.
There's only A, B, and C. Do you want to create a D?
I do.
All right, create it.
Are you ready?
Yes, okay.
So again, it's their home. It's not mine. And I can only advise them on comparables in the area. And their situation may be different and they may want to sell quicker. So if they decide that that's what they want to do, that's their choice. I can only show them what things have sold for in the area and be able to advocate them on that aspect. So what I would do is tell them, let's look at this a little bit deeper. Let me show you these comparables for your area, whether it's a neighborhood or whatnot, and let them really think on it and decide if they want to accept or if they want to counter.
Well, that's a good segue into the next question because a client wants to buy their first home they've toured with you. They haven't seen anything else, but they are ready to make the offer today. Do you, A, write the offer immediately, B, encourage them to see a few more options, or C, consult with a mentor on how to balance urgency and caution? Okay,
and we kind of touched on this.
Yes.
Someone may walk into the home and realize this is the one, or they may not. So for me, if they know that that's what they want, then I guess I would do A.
Write the offer immediately. Okay.
Yeah, it's their choice. And if they know that that's what they want, plus you have to think of it this way. They may have gone to open houses. They may have worked with another agent. So if they know, then they know.
I mean, that does make sense to do that immediately. But I also think about it from like a scenario that's a little bit more familiar to me and like a sports like scenario, right? Because I'm imagining like, you know, they're going in and they're checking out their home for the first time. But I'm imagining like a college player going to get their first deal for the first time. They're probably not going to accept the first one. Or maybe you wouldn't necessarily recommend, even though a lot of them want to, because it's like they went from 0 to 1 million. So I was kind of thinking about it in that scenario. And I imagine that other people could think of it like that as well. You may not know what else you're missing out on.
Right. Well, and I'll say this. So sometimes, not all the time, because sometimes you're just setting up one showing of one house. But a lot of times you've got at least 2 or 3. So I could also say, hey, let's go ahead and look at the other ones that we have scheduled to see today and let you think about this while we're looking at the other ones. So you can compare those to that. And then maybe at the end of that, they realize they're not ready to make that decision right away and they want to take another day or so to look at other homes. But in their mind, you never know, Joe. They may say, you know what? I know how quickly these homes are going. I know that this is what I want. This has everything I want. So who am I to say no
Yeah,
to them,
for sure.
you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they don't want it to, I don't know, get away from them.
Yeah, they don't want somebody else to put in an offer and take it. Now, we're not in COVID times anymore, but still, when a house is a good house, you can get multiple offers on it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Scenario 3, it's been 2 weeks with no showings on your newest listing. The sellers are panicking and want to slash the price. Do you A, drop the price today, B, wait another week and rework your marketing plan, or C, bring it to your team or broker to get feedback?
I think B and C.
B and C.
Because I'm all about, before listing a home, making sure that the sellers are aware of the current market. So again, their expectations are not one thing and reality is not another. So I like to already have a plan in mind.
Okay.
And then, if that plan is not working as we thought it would, then I would absolutely go to the broker and team and see what other avenues that we could use.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing you answer these. Because you're like, she did not see these questions before.
No.
Just so you know. Okay, scenario 4, we have 2 more. You're in a hot market and you hear about an off-market property. It sounds perfect for your buyers, but you haven't seen it yet. Do you, A, tell your buyer immediately to make an offer sight unseen?
Absolutely no.
I figured. That's why I'm like, Okay, B, schedule a showing before jumping the gun. C, research the property and talk to the listing agent before moving forward. Or do you want to make a D? I feel like you want to make a D.
I feel I want C and D combined.
Okay.
I want to research the property, obviously, so I can give all of those details to the buyers. And if they want to move forward with viewing it, go ahead and reach out to the listing agent that has that pocket listing and schedule a time for them to view it.
Okay.
Now, some people have to buy sight unseen. Mm-hmm. I just prefer that not to be an option. If I would even sight unseen, I could do virtual tours and whatnot so they can get an idea of things. I don't want them to just view something online and make that decision. There are people that have done it and continue to do so, but I would at least like to go schedule a time, do a walkthrough with them virtually so they can see everything. Yeah.
Great answers. Last one, scenario 5. You got a gut feeling about a lead you met months ago. They're finally ready to buy. Do you push hard with daily follow-ups? This is not you. I already know, not A. B, stay patient with gentle check-ins and updates. Or C, create a long-term follow-up plan with your CRM?
B and C.
B and C. Okay.
Yeah.
Stay patient with gentle check-ins and updates. I see. Wow. C too.
Well, you can set up that can be a touch point once every 3 to 6 months. You know?
Okay.
So you don't have to do that on a monthly basis or anything like that. Again, we always talk about top of mind. So I just want them to know I'm here to help them navigate that process whenever they feel it's appropriate for their timeline.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Guess what, my friend? I think that's it for this episode.
Way.
I know, that's so quick, wasn't it?
I know. I'm excited to have them with us, though. So thank you for sticking around.